If I could only choose 3 lenses to bring with me on a daily basis for the foreseeable future, it would be... I'm just gonna start this video off by saying thank you so much to all of you that are here watching my content, giving me a thumbs up, dropping the comments, and subscribing, because you guys rock. And if this is your first time watching me, then you might want to consider hitting that subscribe button, because, you know, that'd be appreciated. The absolute first lens that I had for a full-frame camera was the 55mm size f1.8, and that was a really good lens, but it also felt very limiting when I was starting out shooting videos and taking photos, because you had to run back and forth a whole lot and use your legs as the zoom instead of like being able to have a zoom. And the second lens that I have for a full-frame camera was the Tamron 2875 f2.8, and this is such a good lens for anyone that is starting out or anyone that wants to like step up their photography or videography game with their full-frame camera and get some really good shots using nothing but this lens. One of the main reasons that I like this lens so much is that it covers a really wide focal length, so you can like zoom in or zoom out. It doesn't really matter what you want to shoot, if you want to like shoot a portrait or if you want to shoot a really wide like landscape shot, because you're gonna be able to do that with this lens. It does feel a little bit limiting when you don't have like the 24mm availability on it and you only can go down to 28, but this lens is something that I always go back to, maybe product videos or client videos. This lens is what I've used for that. But one of the downsides with this lens is that dust is going to creep up into the front lens element of the lens because of the barrel extending when you're zooming, so dust is gonna be like into the lens when you do that a whole lot. And if you're a little bit more cautious than I am with my lenses, then you probably can get away with not as much dust as my lens has. But it's also something that's really good to think of. And if you want to buy like the more weather sealed one that Sony has to offer, which is the 2470 G Master 2.8, that is going to cost you approximately 3 or 4 times as much as this lens costs right now, because this goes at like 899 bucks, and I highly recommend this for anyone that wants to have a really good zoom lens and something that will give you professional looking photos and videos really fast. The next lens that I want to talk about is going to be the 16-35 f4 lens that I've been using for 99% of all my behind the scenes shoots and my vlogs and a bunch of videos here in the office as well. This lens is so good to have because of the focal length. I'm not necessarily saying that like the f4 is going to be the best option, but what I like about this is that when you're doing a lot of vlogs and run and gun shooting, then you have the ability to have the OSS, which stands for optical steady shot, that this lens has. And there is an equivalent from Tamron, which is the 17-28 lens, which has an f2.8 aperture instead, but that doesn't have the OSS. But if I were to start like my YouTube channel today, I would probably go for the 17-28 instead of the 16-35 if I had my camera mainly on a tripod. If I wanted to have like a really good running gun vlog lens, this is what I should go for, and I have no issues at all with the f4 aperture. And I really like having the OSS because it does stabilize your footage a whole lot whenever you're doing a lot of running gun shooting. And even though this lens barrel is extending like this, I have not experienced any dust getting into the front element of the lens. It still is completely sealed up and it doesn't have any like weird dust elements in there. So I gotta say, really good build quality there, Sony size. The next lens that I want to talk about is going to be one lens that you are probably familiar with if you've been here on the channel for a while, and that is going to be the 24mm f1.4 G Master lens. And there is a bunch of different options for a bunch of different camera systems that you can buy, but I like this lens so much and I use it almost exclusively whenever I'm shooting any kind of like cinematic sequence or any kind of short film or anything like that. I mean, like, we used the 24mm when we were shooting Aftermath together with the Batis 85 as well, but those two lenses were the only thing that we used. And the reason that I like the 24mm so much is that it gives you the ability to go down to f1.4, which can totally like blur out the background, but it doesn't distort your image that much so that it's gonna look weird like it does when you go down to like 16mm. And that is one of the biggest advantages of this lens that I really like, because you can use it as like a street photography lens. You can also shoot portraits with it without it looking too distorted, and there is going to be like a nice blurred out background even though your subject is quite far away. This lens is also one of the absolute sharpest lenses that I've tried ever, and that is why this lens is one of my personal favorites that I have in my kit right now, and definitely a lens that I recommend to anyone that wants to have like a wide lens but not too wide. But if you want to have a lens that you can vlog with, then this lens is not going to be it. Then I would probably go for something like the 16-35 instead. The next lens that I have in my kit is the 85mm Zeiss Batis f1.8, and this produces a really good image whenever you're shooting any kind of videos or photos. It also has a built-in OSS, which is optical steady shot, and it's also a weather sealed lens, so you don't have to worry about having the lens outside in the rain or something like that, because it's gonna hold up and not let a lot of water into the It is also a really sharp lens, which is great for portraits or any kind of like close-ups that you want to have, and the focal length is also really flattering if you're shooting a lot of people and trying to take those nice kind of like corporate looking shots. And I think the 85mm focal length looks really good. And I also have the 7200 f4G lens from Sony, which I bought, I think it was like 2 years ago. I really like this lens, but I don't use it a whole lot. Like whenever I want to go up to the focal length that is covered within this range, I mostly go for the 85mm instead of going for the 7200. One of the biggest reasons is because I think that this is too big to bring along on an everyday basis, and it's too big to have in your kit and walk around with, but it does produce a really good looking image, and it does give you a really sharp, clean look to your videos and your photos. And if I were to buy a 7200 lens today, I would probably not go for this lens, because Tamron just released their 70 to 180 that I've been trying out for the last couple of weeks, and I gotta say, I didn't think I was going to be sold on this lens, but I think it's way better than this lens. And even though this lens has like the optical steady shot that this lens doesn't have, you can't really see that whenever you're shooting any kind of video, because you have the built-in IBIS of the Sony cameras. And this lens is also smaller and more compact than the Sony lens, as you can see right here, which makes it easier to pack down into your bag and bring it along with you. And even though you're lacking like 20mm focal length, that is something that I didn't think was an issue when I was trying these two out. But there is coming a, what do you call it, review on this lens very soon, so stay tuned for that, because it is a really good lens. But those are the lenses that I have in my kit right now, and if I could only choose 3 lenses to bring with me on a daily basis for the foreseeable future, it would be the 2875 f2.8 from Tamron, the 1635 f4, and the 24mm G Master lens that I'm shooting with right now, because these lenses are what I use like 99% of the time whenever I'm shooting anything, and I really like all 3 lenses a whole lot. I would love to know, what lenses do you have in your kit, and why did you go for those lenses, or which lenses do you want to buy and add to your kit? Do drop a comment down below, because it's also always funny to hear what other people have in their camera bag. Why is it that we enjoy watching what other people have and what kind of gear that other people use when they're shooting their stuff? I don't know, it's kind of cool, right? All right, subscribe if you haven't done that. It's gonna be up here, and Peter from Sweden is going to say goodbye. But if you're interested in joining in on the channel membership, there's gonna be an option down below, so you can just go there, check it out, and see what it has to offer. Take care, thanks so much for watching, and see you. Bye. Timer. Always need a timer. 28 minutes. 28 minutes. There we go. Oh, 28. Start. And then we're gonna have to turn off the AC. It is so hot here in the office, so I don't really want to turn it off, but it's way too loud, so... Huh, there we go. What do you think about this setup? I actually think it looks pretty good. This feels like the main setup of the office. I'm not entirely sure if we're gonna have this like in all my videos. I'm probably gonna switch it out a little bit because it might just be a little bit too boring if we go all in on the same setup. But I would love to know, what do you think? I think it looks... And if you didn't know already, I love teal and orange. Teal and orange. Ha det bra, hej Göteborg! Whoa! See you! Ah, that was a weak one.